If you're terrified of being judged, I need you to understand something right now. You're not a coward. Your brain is functioning exactly the way that it was programmed to. Thousands of years ago, if your tribe didn't like you, they kicked you out of the cave and then you were inevitably eaten by a wolf. Your nervous system evolved to view social disapproval as a literal death sentence. So when you get a mean comment on the internet or your old drinking buddies roll their eyes at your new set of boundaries, your brain doesn't say, oh, that's just their opinion. Your brain says, we're being exiled and we're definitely going to die. But you aren't living in a cave anymore. My name is Michael. I'm a psychologist in training. I'm a sober dad and a guy who's got plenty of people who don't agree with him. And today we're going to talk about the most predictable people in your life. Your haters. You think that they're a threat. You think their opinion holds weight. Psychologically, you're giving them a power they haven't earned. Their entire game is built on a single pathetic hope that you never figure out the one move that makes their entire strategy collapse. You see, they have a secret, and it's not that they dislike you, that's obvious. The real secret is that they're terrified that you'll discover their hate, their noise, their jealousy isn't a weapon, it's a roadmap. Today, we're dissecting the clinical biology of rejection, the psychology of projection, and the biblical reality of why God explicitly prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemies. If you're trying to do anything meaningful, this episode is going to feel like surgery without anesthesia. Good, you need it. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show where we break down the mental health stigma, navigate sobriety with humor, and prove that it's okay to laugh while you heal. Let's get real, let's get honest, and maybe a little weird. Growth is messy, but you don't have to do it alone. This is Sober Psychology. All right, let's define our terms right out of the gate. If you have no haters, you're not doing anything important, period. Haters are an unavoidable byproduct of ambition. They're the friction that proves that you're in motion. The second that you decide to be unapologetically yourself, to build something, to get sober, or to raise your hand when everyone else is sitting down, you will attract criticism. You expect a parade, but instead you get a smirk. You get the snide comment from a family member or a passive-aggressive remark from a coworker. You pour your soul into your healing, and one comment online from a stranger echoes louder than 100 compliments. There's a reason for that. Your brain is hardwired with a negativity bias. It's a survival mechanism from a time where the rustling in the bushes was more important than the sunset. But in today's world, it means that one hater can feel like an army. So you start to question yourself. Are they right? Am I a fraud? Maybe I should just play it safe. This is the first test. It's a toll booth on the road to doing anything worthwhile. And the price of admission is realizing that the noise isn't a stop sign, it's a landmark. So why do people around you react so negatively to your healing? It's because relationships operate on a system of homeostasis. A family or a friend group is like a mobile hanging from a baby's crib. If you pull down one piece, the whole thing shakes to try and balance itself. Think about the crab bucket mentality. If you put one crab in a bucket, it's going to easily climb out. If you put a dozen crabs in a bucket, you don't even need a lid. The moment that one crab starts climbing towards freedom, the other crabs will physically grab its legs and pull it down into the misery. They don't pull you down because they're evil villains plotting your demise. They pull you down because your upward trajectory is terrifying to them. It forces them to realize that they're in a bucket. The presence of haters isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're finally unequivocally doing something right. If you hadn't accomplished anything, you wouldn't be worth their attention. To become immune to their poison, you can't just ignore them. First, you have to understand them. You have to get inside their heads, not to sympathize, but to strategize, because their entire game is built on a foundation of psychological weakness, and once you see the strings, they can't pull on them anymore. Let's be clear, their hate has almost nothing to do with you. It's a mirror reflecting their own internal misery. So let's break down their playbook. First is the engine. This is going to be jealousy and envy. Seeing you succeed doesn't just highlight your wins, it serves as a spotlight on their own inaction. It's a painful reminder of the risks that they never took and the discipline that they failed to cultivate. Grant Cardone says that all haters are quitters. They quit on their dreams, and now they resent you for not quitting on yours. Their criticism is a pathetic attempt to drag you down to their level to make their own failure feel less lonely. Second is the mechanism. This is cognitive dissonance and projection. In order to understand this, we're going to look at Leon Festinger's theory of cognitive dissonance. This is the extreme mental discomfort that a person feels when their reality contradicts their belief. If their core belief is change is impossible and you get sober and change your life, you trigger massive cognitive dissonance. So in order to relieve that pain, they have two options. They can either admit that they've been lazy, which requires a massive ego death, or they can invalidate you. So they project. There's a principle in psychology: if you spot it, you got it. The things that haters criticize in you are almost always the things that they despise about themselves. The person calling you arrogant is likely deeply insecure. Their attacks are a defensive mechanism. By putting you down, they get a temporary fleeting boost to their fragile self-worth. They aren't attacking you, they're fighting a proxy war within their own shadow. Third is their biggest fear: your growth. Your ambition disrupts their comfortable, mediocre world. If you succeed, it proves that it's possible to break out of the box that they've chosen to live in. That invalidates every single excuse that they've built their life on. Their subconscious thought is, if they can do it, it means I could have, and I didn't. So to protect their fragile reality, they need you to fail. They're psychologically dependent on it. And then finally, this is the coward's mask. This is where we're going to talk about the online disinhibition effect. Psychologist Don Suhler explained that anonymity makes people feel unaccountable. The internet allows them to operate without consequences. And studies show that people who engage in online hating often exhibit high levels of psychopathic traits like lack of empathy. They would never say these things to your face, not because they're secretly polite, but because without the digital mask, they're weak. They plant seeds of doubt, and they desperately are hoping that you water them. So if we know that they're just projecting, why does it still hurt so bad? Why does one anonymous comment ruin your entire Tuesday? We need to talk about the anterior cingulate cortex. In 2003, researchers from UCLA conducted what's called the Cyberball study. They put subjects in an fMRI machine and they had them play a virtual catch game with two other people on a screen. And eventually, the other two people excluded the subject. The results from this study alone changed psychology forever, in my opinion. The exact same region of the brain that lights up when you break your leg or burn your hand on a stove lit up when the subjects were socially excluded. That tells us that to your brain, social rejection isn't just an idea. It's a physical tissue damage. I need you to internalize this for a moment. When someone criticizes your recovery or makes fun of your healthy habits, your brain registers it as a physical assault. So stop beating yourself up for caring what other people think. You're fighting millions of years of evolutionary hardware. The goal isn't to stop feeling the sting of rejection. That's impossible. The goal is to feel the sting, to recognize it as a biological glitch, and then to keep building anyways. I say it every time, but that doesn't make it any less true. The beauty of psychology is that it tells us how we are broken, and the Bible tells us what to do about it. If you're trying to build a new life, read the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah is building the broken walls of Jerusalem, and the moment he starts building, two haters show up: Sanballat and Tobiah. They use mockery, they use sarcasm, and then Tobiah says, whatever they build, if even a fox goes up it, he will break down their stone wall. They're trying to trigger his anterior cingulate cortex. And so later on, when the mocking fails, they send a message to Nehemiah. They say, come down to the plains and let's have a meeting. Ultimately, they want him to stop building and to start arguing. If you know anything about narcissists, if you know anything about haters, if you know anything about psychopaths, this is what they try and get you to do. Nehemiah's response is the ultimate blueprint for dealing with critics. He says, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you? Basically implying that my work here is more important than giving you what you want. When you argue with a troll in the comments or write a paragraph explaining your sobriety to an uncle who wants you to drink, you're coming off the wall. And every minute you spend defending your boundaries is a minute that you aren't laying a brick. Let them talk. Don't come down off that wall. And this brings us to Psalm 23, verse 5. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. God doesn't say, I'll remove your enemies so you can eat in peace. He says the enemies are going to be standing right there watching you while I bless you. Part of your spiritual maturity is learning how to eat a steak while the people who want you to fail are staring at you. So we've dissected their playbook. We've exposed their pathetic psychology that fuels them. They throw everything at you with one goal: to make you stop. They're betting on your reaction. They're betting that you'll get defensive, get angry, or even better, get defeated and quit. They believe they're the archers and that you're the target. This entire worldview is built on one fundamentally flawed assumption: that they have the power over you. Understand how exciting this perspective shift is. That brings us to the one thing, the simple action that your haters pray that you never take. The one thing they fear more more than anything is that you will look at their hate, their noise, their obsession, and you'll consciously decide to use it as a script for your show. Welcome to the podcast. Let me say that again. They are terrified that you will stop seeing them as haters and start seeing them as your involuntary, obsessed front row audience. They're praying that you never realize their negativity isn't a weapon against you. It's an unsolicited, completely free roadmap pointing directly to where your greatness lies. This isn't about ignoring them. That's a defensive move. This is about going on the offense. It's the moment you stop asking, how do I make them stop? And you start asking, how can I make them watch? They think they're writing your tragedy. The one thing they pray you never do is pick up their script, laugh, and perform it as your triumphant, heroic origin story. They want a reaction, but the one that they're absolutely not prepared for is for you to turn to them, bow, and say, thank you for the fuel, now enjoy the show. When you do that, their power evaporates. You've taken their only weapon and reforged it into your own crown. Understanding this is one thing, living it is another. It requires discipline, so let's break down the 4 acts of your new show. Act 1, this is going to be the mental reframe. This is where we go from the victim to the director. This starts in your mind. Stop seeing their comments as attacks and start seeing them as data. You have to stop outsourcing your self-worth to anonymous trolls. Take back your internal locus of control. And you have to inject humor in all of this. Haters are absurd. They invest incredible energy tracking someone that they claim to dislike. Treat it that way. Reread their nasty comments in a squeaky mouse voice. The person who wrote "you're a total fraud" sounds a lot less intimidating when you imagine them as a cartoon mouse. This is a psychological technique to strip their words of power. You're the director now. You'll never make it becomes "they're scared I will." You've changed becomes "thank God I've grown." Act 2, this is the alchemical process. This is turning raw hate into pure fuel. Now you use that energy. That spike of anger that you feel, that's a power source. Most people waste it on pointless arguments. You won't. You'll become the alchemist, turning the lead of their hate into the gold of your success. Ooh, put that on a t-shirt. The next time a comment makes your blood boil, don't type a response. Go and do the very thing they said you couldn't. Use that adrenaline to work an extra hour, to make 5 more calls, to write another chapter, to put out 4 new videos. Let their criticism be a spotlight illuminating what you need to strengthen. They want you to burn out. Instead, just burn brighter. Success is the best revenge because it requires no anger, only relentless, undeniable progress. This brings up the 10-second rule. Tomorrow, when you face a choice, enforcing a boundary or publishing a video, the alarm bells will scream. You've got 10 seconds. Notice the biological fear in all of this and just say it out loud. My brain thinks that I'm being cast out of the cave and that a wolf is coming to eat me. That is fascinating data. And then you hit publish. Act 3, this is mastering the stage. This is where we have to figure out engagement and disengagement. A great performer knows when to interact with the audience. Most of your haters deserve absolutely nothing. Your energy is your most valuable currency, so stop spending it on people who are emotionally bankrupt. The block and delete buttons are not tools of weakness, they are instruments of psychological hygiene. Engaging with a troll is like wrestling a pig in the mud. You both get dirty, but the pig actually enjoys it. Your silence is a power move. It tells them you're not important enough for a response. However, a small fraction aren't actually haters, they're skeptics. This is where you can engage from a place of strength. Kill them with kindness. A simple, "thanks for sharing your perspective," is incredibly disarming. Your public response is rarely for the hater, it's for everyone else watching. So by responding with a level of grace, you demonstrate leadership. Act 4, this is the director's cut. This is where you're going to be engineering your own spotlight. In the digital age, the algorithm doesn't distinguish between a fan or a hater. It only recognizes engagement. A hater who comments on all of your posts is, algorithmically speaking, one of your biggest superfans. They're actively boosting your visibility. Their outrage is free marketing. If you go and look at any of my videos that I post, any of the haters that comment, all I'm doing is baiting them to get them to continue to communicate with me. Since I know that their egos are so fragile, all it takes is a little bit of a jab to get them to continue to throw their hate towards me. That's free marketing. So for any of you who want to continue hating on my videos, please give me that free marketing. You can leverage this by being bold. Challenge a flawed concept in your industry. This is going to polarize the audience. It's going to galvanize your supporters and activate an army of haters who are going to rush to defend the status quo. In doing so, they'll spread your message for you. If you aren't pissing someone off, you probably aren't saying anything important. The goal isn't to be liked by everyone. It's to be loved by the right people. The haters are just the marketing department you never had to pay for. If you're ready to stop letting other people's opinions write your story, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're building a community of people who turn obstacles into opportunities. Now, here's your call to action. Go to the comments and tell me one piece of criticism that you've received recently that you're going to reframe and use as fuel. Help me turn this comment section into a powerhouse of reframed energy. It's not just for you and me, it's for everybody else reading it. In the end, it's a choice. You can let the noise dictate your worth, or you can decide that you conduct the orchestra. Your haters are not powerful. They're predictable. Their playbook is simple, and now you know how to counter it. They are, in essence, your most dedicated audience. Don't resent their attention. Welcome it, because their presence is proof that you're in the arena while they're stuck in the cheap seats. They're gonna judge you if you stay in the mud, and they're gonna judge you if you climb the mountain. So if you're gonna be the villain in their story, you might as well be the villain with a healed nervous system, a happy marriage, and a sober mind. The one thing they pray you never do is realize the spotlight they're using to try and burn you is the same one that you can use to shine. They want you to run from it, but you're not gonna do that. You're gonna step into it, you're gonna own it, and you're gonna give them a show they will never forget. Stop being nice and start being real. I'm Michael. This is Sober Psychology. Keep your head up, keep your heart open, and go help somebody. Love you guys.